Do you ever find yourself just talking in circles? Or maybe even worse, actually making things worse when you're trying to communicate?
Oh, definitely. That feeling.
Yeah, that familiar knot in your stomach when a conversation starts to, unravel, or you're stuck in some argument that just feels impossible.
Hopeless, yeah.
Well, you're absolutely not alone. Today, we're going to try and cut through some of that noise. We're looking at some really incredible insights from Jefferson Fisher's book, The Next Conversation, Argue Less, Talk More.
That's right.
And our mission really is to give you some practical tools to help transform those interactions, move away from conflict towards, well, genuine connection.
And the core problem Fisher really gets at is how often we kind of default to approaching conversations, especially the tough ones, thinking we need to win.
Right. Gotta be right.
Exactly. We think if we could just prove our point, get the other person to admit they're wrong, then, we've succeeded. But Fisher, and he's coming from a background as a trial lawyer, which is fascinating.
Yeah, that's an interesting angle.
It is. He powerfully shows how that adversarial mindset, it just rarely leads to real understanding or, lasting resolution. His perspective really challenges that whole assumption. It offers a genuinely new way to think about dialogue.
Okay, so let's unpack this. There's this really transformative idea he starts with. The person you see isn't the person you're talking to.
The iceberg.
Exactly, the iceberg analogy. What you see on the surface, the words, the tone, maybe the body language, that's just the tip, right? Only a tiny fraction of what's truly going on underneath.
Yeah.
And he tells this really powerful story about a deposition he had, this witness, Bobby Lepre, a mountain of a man, apparently.
Yeah.
And this guy was aggressive, defensive, hostile, muttering about stupid questions and how lawyers are the worst. And Fisher admits his first reaction, totally human, was anger. He wanted to best him.
Right, the instinct to fight back, to win the exchange.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is how Fisher connects that experience, that professional moment with Bobby Lepre, to something much earlier, a real aha moment from third grade.
Third grade? Wow.
Yeah. He was paired with a reading buddy, Evan, who was physically much bigger. Evan really struggled with reading. And later, Fisher found out Evan was living with his grandparents, his dad had left, his mom was in jail.
Oh, wow. That's tough.
Right. And that early experience, it became foundational for him. It helped him see that these disproportionate reactions we sometimes get from people, they often stem from some hidden struggle. There's like another conversation happening inside their head that we're not invited to.
That makes so much sense.
So the key insight is spotting those oversized reactions. Not getting hooked by them, but seeing them as a signal. Like, okay, there's data here. There's something more going on beneath the surface.
And that's just such a crucial takeaway, isn't it? Arguments aren't really about winning. They're more like a window into another person's struggle.
Exactly.
And if you grasp that, it just profoundly shifts your entire goal for having the conversation in the first place. It's not about proving something anymore. It's about discerning.
Yeah, discerning. And if we link this to the bigger picture, I mean, most of us, let's be honest, we go into difficult conversations kind of hoping the other person will just admit defeat, admit we're 100% right.
Guilty as charged sometimes.
We all do it. But Fisher argues, look, your goal should be different. It should be to have something to learn, not something to prove.
Learn, not prove. Okay.
Remember that story in the book about the lunch with a friend? Both friends went in basically wanting to prove they were right about something, and predictably,
it went badly.
Totally crashed and burned. Left them both feeling worse. The insight there is, when you shift your goal from winning to learning, the whole dynamic can change. The potential outcome changes.
Absolutely. And it really forces you to look at that deep-seated need we all have to be right, doesn't it? So to find the right goal, the learning goal, Fisher suggests asking yourself some questions, like what's the one thing I'd really need them to understand? And maybe more pointedly, is there a part of this that I'm trying to win?
Yeah, this self-reflection is key.
And he also talks about aligning your conversations with your personal values. He shares his own, like, where there is room for kindness, I will use it. Those values act like a filter, right? They help make the tough calls for you, make sure you're showing up authentically.
That's a great point. It grounds the approach.
So, okay, understanding these hidden struggles, seeing the iceberg, that's a massive shift. But just recognizing it doesn't magically stop our own reactions, right? Stop us from escalating things.
No, not at all. That's the hard part sometimes.
So how do we get a handle on ourselves in the moment? This brings us to Fisher's first big rule, say it with control. We all know how fast conversations can just ignite.
Absolutely. Too fast.
He talks about the ignition phase and the cooling phase of arguments, and he draws these really strong parallels to our body's fight or flight response, that automatic stuff.
Right. The physiological response.
Well, yeah. He uses that relatable example, John and Grace and their daughter Lily fighting bedtime. What starts simple, just a parenting thing, quickly blows up into a full argument between the parents. Why? Because there's weeks of unspoken resentment bubbling under the surface.
And it raises that important question. What is actually happening in our bodies when things get heated? Fisher details how our autonomic nervous system, that fight or flight system, it just takes over. It orchestrates hundreds of unseen changes in seconds.
Hijacks your brain, basically.
Pretty much. It hijacks logic, prepares us for battle, and those emotions spill out as, defensive comments, maybe angry shouts, slamming doors.
We've all seen it or done it.
And what sets it off? The triggers.
Yeah.
Fisher breaks them down. Physical ones, like a raised voice, someone getting in your personal space.
Yeah, those are obvious.
But more often, he says, it's the psychological triggers. Thoughts. Things we perceive now or worry about happening, like social evaluation, feeling judged, threats to our personal identity, fear of loss. And the key insight here, again, is seeing these triggers not as things to get offended by personally, but as information, data about what's going on inside the other person, their emotional state.
Okay, information gathering, not taking offense. Got it. So how do we interrupt that cycle? How do we actually regain control? He offers concrete tools, starting with something super simple but profound. Your first word is your breath.
Just breathe. Sounds simple, but it's powerful.
Right. He talks about clients like Elizabeth in that deposition. Facing an aggressive attorney, she just used a deliberate pause, took a breath, and took back control.
It interrupts the momentum.
Exactly. You consciously interrupt that ignition phase. Maybe it's breathing through your nose for deeper breaths. Maybe it's that longer exhale, like the Stanford physiological sigh.
Which actually lowers blood pressure, reduces stress.
Yeah. Or even those rhythmic patterns like the Navy SEALs use for focus. It's about taking command of your body to buy yourself a few seconds. Stop the snowball effect.
Okay, so you've used breath to reset the body.
Yeah.
But the mind is still racing, right?
Right.
That's where his quick scan comes in. He adapted it from yoga. It's like a 2-second mental check-in. Scan your body. Where's the stress hiding? Tension in the jaw, shoulders hunched. And then, crucially, you label the emotion you feel. Just name it. And the amazing insight here is that when you can consciously say to yourself, okay, I can tell I'm getting upset, it actually transforms that insecurity into confidence.
How so?
Because you're acknowledging it. You're claiming the emotion instead of being swept away by it. That gives you a measure of control over it.
Okay, that makes sense. Acknowledge and claim. Then, after the quick scan...
Then you use small talks.
Small talks.
Yeah, these are short, verb-led phrases you say silently to yourself to recenter. Fisher used them in his trials. Things like, find the struggle, or speak my truth.
Okay. Little internal commands.
Exactly. They're not vague affirmations. They're concrete, actionable cues tied to your goals for that specific conversation. They force you to act differently in the moment.
Right, practical anchors. Okay, so that's control. Let's move on to the second rule. Say it with confidence. Now, confidence can be tricky. Fisher explains it's not something you just, decide to have.
No, it's a feeling.
It's a feeling, and it's built through assertive action, which then creates this positive feedback loop. So the implication is you can actually cultivate confidence by learning to speak assertively.
Precisely. And word choice is huge here. Every word matters. Fisher really emphasizes calling your shot.
Calling your shot.
Saying what you're going to do and then actually doing it. If you say, okay, this is getting too heated, I'm going to step away for a few minutes, then you actually step away.
Follow through.
Yes, it builds credibility, both with others and, crucially, with yourself. You build self-reliance. You prove you mean what you say. The opposite is being, all bark and no bite. That just kills your credibility fast.
Yeah, definitely seen that. And on the flip side, what about apologizing too much? That habit lots of us have.
Oh yeah, the unnecessary sorries.
Fisher advises against littering your requests or statements with, I'm sorry. Instead of, sorry, I'm late, try shifting it to, thank you for your patience.
Oh, I like that. Shifts the focus.
It does. It acknowledges the other person without diminishing yourself or sounding insecure.
And another key part of confidence, knowing when not to talk. Strategic silence.
The power of the pause.
Absolutely. Fisher notes that often it's insecure people who talk the most. They feel this need to constantly prove themselves, fill every silence. Confident people, though, they have, as he puts it, wisdom in their silence.
They choose their moments.
Exactly. They choose moments for impact. Silence isn't just empty space, it's an active presence. It shows control. This ties into avoiding things like over-explaining or using lots of filler words. They just undermine your message.
Okay, so how does this play out in really difficult interactions? Fisher gives some very specific tools, doesn't he?
He does. Very practical.
Like if someone just insults you, says you're an idiot, what do you do?
Okay, his advice here is counterintuitive. Give a long pause, like 5, even 10 seconds. Let their words just hang there, echo back at them.
Ooh, that sounds uncomfortable.
It is. For them. Then slowly repeat what they said. You think I'm an idiot. He says this denies them the reaction, sort of dopamine hit they were looking for.
Interesting. Okay, what about belittling comments? Like, let me put this in terms you'll understand.
Ugh, those are awful. Here, his advice is, makes him say it again. I'm sorry, I need you to repeat that.
Makes him own it.
Yes. Then ask a question of outcome. Something like, did you want that to hurt?
Yeah.
And then silence. Just let them sit with it.
Wow. Okay. And if someone's just plain rude or dismissive, like, oh, you're still talking?
Similar idea, but quicker. A short pause this time. Then ask a question of intent, like, did you mean for that to sound rude?
Putting it back on them, making them aware.
Exactly. It disrupts their pattern without escalating aggressively.
And what about bad apologies? We get those all the time.
Oh, the non-apology apologies.
Oh.
He breaks them down, the ones with no empathy, the excuses, the toxic, manipulative ones, the justifications.
Yeah, the I'm sorry if you felt.
Ugh, if apology. He gives specific counterphrases like, don't apologize for my feelings, apologize for what you did. Or for the if apology, I need you to change the if to that.
I'm sorry that I...
Yes, it redirects the accountability squarely back where it belongs. It stops you from accepting a hollow apology that doesn't actually fix anything.
These are really concrete tools. Okay, so we've covered control and confidence. The final rule is say it to connect.
Right. And for Fisher, true connection demands clarity, not ambiguity.
So how do we achieve that clarity? He talks about framing conversations.
Yes, framing. Think of it like choosing shoes, he says. If you have too many options, that's overwhelming.
Yeah, decision fatigue.
Same with conversations. If you try to tackle too many issues at once, it gets messy, distracting, unproductive. His advice is simple. One frame, one issue per conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. A clear frame sets the direction. It calls your shot again, but this time for the conversation's goal, how you want it to end. And gets commitment, ideally.
And without a frame.
Conversations just wander. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack, he says. Leads to frustration, people wondering, what's your point here?
In there.
Yeah. Compare that to a manager starting a meeting with, okay, team, today we're focusing specifically on improving our client feedback process. Everyone knows where they're headed. Clear expectation, productive start.
Right. Sets the stage. Now, let's talk about maybe the biggest barrier to connection. Defensiveness, ours and theirs.
Oh, yeah. The killer of connection.
Fisher calls it a reflex of pointing outward instead of inward. It's tied to that deep aversion we have to being wrong, linked back to those psychological triggers like social evaluation, personal identity.
And things like cognitive dissonance, that discomfort when beliefs clash, and the fundamental attribution error, judging others harshly, but giving ourselves a pass.
Yeah, they're late because they're irresponsible. I'm late because traffic was bad.
Exactly. He uses that great example of the okay text message, how easily that can be misinterpreted, taken personally, and suddenly you're in an argument built on defensiveness.
So true. The core insight seems to be your first step to connecting is actually recognizing and disarming your own defensiveness, your own biases.
Yes. And the powerful cure he offers for defensiveness, it's giving grace.
Giving grace, what does that mean in practice?
It means assuming positive intent until you have concrete proof otherwise. It means consciously deciding to drop the weight of other people's words sometimes. Actively choosing, as he puts it, not attending every argument you're invited to.
You don't have to engage with everything.
Exactly. Not every comment needs a comeback. Sometimes the best response is no response. It's a choice reflecting how much grace you give others and ultimately yourself.
So how do you stop yourself practically in that moment when you feel that defensive wall go up?
He gives 3 steps. First, catch yourself. Use that conversational breath we talked about. Pause.
Okay, breath first.
Second, let their words fall. Imagine them literally dropping to the ground instead of catching them to throw back. Tell yourself, put it down. Your name. Just let it go.
Visualize it falling.
Okay. Third, get curious. Instead of reacting outwards, ask inward-focused questions. Where is this coming from in them? What's the struggle here?
Shift from defense to curiosity.
Curiosity instead of combat. I like that. And what about diffusing it in others when they get defensive?
Some key strategies there, too. First, use I statements. Focus on your feelings, your experience, not accusations. So, I felt unappreciated when X happened, not you don't appreciate me. Big difference.
Takes the blame out of it.
Right. Second, avoid why questions. They often sound accusatory, even if you don't mean them to, like, why did you do that?
Right.
Can instantly trigger defensiveness. Try rephrasing.
Okay, avoid why. Third, acknowledge and share what you've learned. This isn't about necessarily agreeing with them. It's about showing you heard them. You could agree on a macro level, or just say something like, okay, I've learned that this is really important to you. It validates them, makes them feel heard.
Validation. Okay. So pulling this all together, how do we approach those really difficult conversations with more intent, aiming for connection?
Well, first, timing is crucial. You need to set aside real, undistracted time.
Right. No ambushing people.
Exactly. Fisher tells that story about interrupting his boss and getting shut down immediately. Nope.
Yeah.
Out, because the boss didn't have capacity. So ask first, do you have capacity to talk about X? Or is now a good time to discuss something sensitive?
Respect their headspace. Makes sense.
Second, for bad news especially, drop the pleasantries.
Really?
No warm-up. He argues that trying to be overly cheerful before dropping bad news just makes people suspicious. It puts them on guard. Better to be direct, though kind. This is going to be hard to hear. Or, look, I've got some bad news. Directness can actually be kinder in those moments.
Yeah. Okay. Directness is kindness. Got it.
Third, begin with your and. Lead with the conclusion, the main takeaway. Like giving the summary of a presentation first.
Give the bottom line up front.
Yeah. He contrasts two texts declining a party invite. One is long, rambling, full of excuses. The other is direct. Got bad news. I can't make it tonight. Thanks so much for the invite. Hope it's a great time. Which one feels more honest and respectful?
The second one, definitely. Clear, kind, done.
Exactly. And finally, maybe most importantly for connection, be a safe space.
A safe space. How?
He shares that really touching story about his young son cutting a hole in a brand new shirt. Instead of flipping out, Fisher stayed calm and said, I'm glad you came to me with this.
Focusing on the trust.
Precisely. His reaction determined whether his son would feel safe coming to him with problems in the future. How you receive information, especially difficult information, dictates future openness. Acknowledge their courage, appreciate their perspective, and resist the urge to immediately jump in with your own similar story. Just listen first.
Wow. Okay, so we've really journeyed through a lot here. The essentials of better communication, learning to control our reactions, speak with more confidence, and ultimately build genuine connection even when it's really tough.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We looked at that iceberg idea, understanding what's underneath, the power of setting a different goal for the next conversation, focusing on learning, and then those three core rules. Say it with control, say it with confidence, and say it to connect.
And it's worth remembering, Fisher's work isn't just about navigating the next tricky conversation better. It's bigger than that. It's about building a legacy.
A legacy of communication.
Yeah, he puts it so powerfully. Your words don't just matter now. They matter to generations of people you'll never meet. The way you talk, argue, connect today. It doesn't just affect you and the people around you now. It actually shapes how future generations in your family, in your circle, learn to interact.
Wow, that's a really powerful thought to end on. It makes you think. Fisher asks, who do your words say you are? So the challenge for all of us listening may be, what if, by really trying to apply these principles, our communication could become like our family's inheritance, a legacy of understanding, of authentic connection? How might that change your world, starting with, well, your very next conversation?